This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2. I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
Here he is, folks, back from Frisco, Texas. Again, my apologies for making you get windburn and frostbite when you were down in Frisco for those 2 days for our shows.
Can't we have this game in Cancun or something?
Well, we'll see what if the Bison make it to Nashville. We'll see what the temperature is like next year. I got to hit you with a fastball right off the hop here. You reported on Friday Bryce Lance is returning. I know you're a hardened sports writer. You're never surprised by anything. What's the level of shock that the Bison didn't lose anybody on this?
A minor shock,
okay.
I think, for sure, just because you knew how many opportunities he would have had, and the level of opportunities, I would imagine the amounts of opportunities. Yep. I guess give it up for the Bison Collective and everything that went into that and how they retained him. I'm more surprised, honestly, though, that as of this minute, 10:02, right? Nobody's in the portal.
No.
Nobody's in the portal. And I would have thought maybe some backups that never saw the light of day would maybe, or maybe you're waiting until after spring football.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe give it one last go and say, okay, here's an honest appraisal of the situation where you're at, and path to the field is blocked here.
Or maybe, and I know this sounds really weird, that maybe they like it here, and whether they see the field or not.
Also, we know the roster cutdowns are going to become a thing.
Yeah, it's a story here I need to get at shortly.
When that becomes official, that if you decide to leave, where are you going to go? Because the backload of guys that are going to be in the portal, Jeff, is going to be out. I mean, we're talking 4,000 to 5,000 players. Easy. Yeah,
and let's start at the FBS level with that, Dom. We believe the word is they're going to get cut down to 105.
105, yep.
And right now, most FBS programs have around 120, maybe 125 in that area. And in talking, and you and I have both talked to, we'll just say Power 4 coaches that we know, and the general belief and the general theory is that most of those players are almost more Division II type players. There's not going to be this FCS help coming from these bottom 20 at most Power 4 schools. They're just not. You talk to those coaches, and a lot of those recruits are walk-ons or favors is what they call them. Like, hey, this donor's son wants to give it a shot, and so you go, okay.
Depending on how much the donor gives, you're going to give him a shot, right?
Yeah. Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah,
we talk about the amounts. What are we talking here?
But yeah, that's a good point, because I think for people that see the story out there, like, oh, these unbelievable players are going to come down.
No.
I think it's maybe 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10 that are going to go and find an FCS home that can make a real impact.
Yeah, I know one program that on those bottom guys, they're trying to bring in some D2s to give them another opportunity. And that's what they believe.
Bring in D2 teams to watch these players.
Them.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the level of play we're talking about.
Yep.
And so when you talk about this massive cut down of players, there's going to be some FCS schools that'll take. Absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of schools that need help.
South Dakota State's one of them. South Dakota State needs about 20 guys right about now.
But I don't see them taking those guys. I don't know.
I mean, they already got a handful of FBS transfers. We'll see what kind of impact guys they are. I don't know.
But, okay, Mercer.
Right.
I can see Mercer taking those guys.
Yep.
Just, there's a lot of programs like Mercer who are in need of giving another shot of finding some players.
Because they got killed in the portal after the season was done.
They got nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of emails I'm going to get to. Most of them center on what we were just talking about. Guys, Bryce Lance is the face and voice of Bison football, and the culture Tim and his staff quickly established, and everyone has bought into it. Great work to Jay Bartley on rolling with the green and gold to reward these guys for a great season and their commitment to NDSU. Bryce is the most well-spoken player I've seen in a long time. I think it would have been really easy to take the bag of money in Texas, but I think it was bigger to stay for a staff and a team that believed in him for a historic season. I can confirm on that, the reporting I have, that the staff, Jeff, believing in him was a major reason why Bryce decided to stay.
Yeah, obviously, I think that's obvious, especially when you come into this season with one career catch and these guys developed you. And good for some loyalty to actually pay off in college athletics.
Doesn't happen.
And obviously, there's got to be a plan moving forward on how they can get him better and prepared for the NFL. That's got to be part, and we believe it's part of this equation. Now, you look at other players, and I think this is an affirmation that Cole Payton is the guy, too. That they believe, the Lances, the Hedbergs, the Tim Polaseks truly believe that Cole Payton, because we haven't seen him throw tremendously amount.
Nope.
That they truly believe that he will be an effective passer next year coming back after this injury.
Because that's the next
and that
email.
was shoulder, too, by the way. Not throwing shoulder.
It was his right shoulder. I have to remember that was the one he got dinged up. Because that was the next email I got. It's great that Bryce is staying, but who's going to get him the ball? Well, already that's been affirmed. It's Cole Payton's job. Polasek said that after he
February
got dinged
1.
up.
Here's
the
keys.
Right, he's getting the keys.
That was his exact quote.
That's exactly right. Now, combined through 3 years, Payton has thrown 58 times. He has 58 pass attempts. So it's hard to really get a gauge on any of that. How many of those have been critical, important throws? Less than 10.
What's he completed?
37 of 58 is his total passing numbers in his 4 years in Fargo. So again, how many of those have been under critical times where you needed to complete a pass? It's got to be under 10. I can almost remember all 58 of these. Not many of them came in critical situations.
I guess I go back to the belief that these guys and his teammates and coaches have seen enough in practice.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, like, the fact of the matter is that it's hard for us to gauge
but
that.
He's no redshirt freshman either.
No, he's not.
There's a difference there. He's no he's not new. He has command of the offense. He knows the offense. He's been around. So I think there's that too.
I think they tried to horseshoe him in this season with before he got hurt and how well Cam was playing. That we talked about how many times in the preseason. Well, we're going to see Payton at tight end, at wide receiver. He's going to play special teams. It didn't work. Now here's the opportunity, and it's going to be fascinating to see how he's an unbelievable athlete, bar none. Right? If you were to say he's the best athlete on the team, I'd have a hard time arguing against that right now.
6'3", 233, just looks the part. He acts the part.
Right. Cam Miller told me twice on two separate occasions, if I could, I would vote for him for captain. He would be a captain. He said that about this current year's team, that's how much he values it. I think that speaks to what he has in the locker room already heading into this year.
Yeah, and this guy has been a leader. He's been a spokesman for the collective, too.
Exactly.
He was one of the first on board.
Correctamundo. That's another big part, that they value what his athleticism can mean to this team. I think we'll have plenty of time to dissect this in April and all off season long. But I think,
how about Tim wearing a green and gold collective shirt in the semifinal?
Yep. I would say I did notice that. I'd say he wore a hat almost every post-game press conference, knowing full well he's going to be on television. That was out there on full display. The other big name that decided to stay was Enoch Sana, and we talked about it off the top of the show. And there's another guy. If you told me those are the two guys the Bison are worried about losing to the transfer portal back in August, I would have laughed at you. But Enoch became a guy, Jeff. He was an impact dude. You look, almost every highlight we have here, he's making a play around the ball. Whether it's a tackle for loss, he's getting in the backfield, or a pick six. And that's at a spot linebacker where they have some depth issues going into next year.
The only thing he needs to do is, after he makes a tackle, go back to the huddle.
It's not him. That is not his MO.
But he's got to tame that down a little bit. Yeah, he turned into one really good player.
Yep.
You know, I thought maybe Logan Kopp would be a target. Enoch. There's several players.
I had heard Barrico's name was out there too. So that was a potential that was being floated out there. But as we said, now there could be a late addition. There's 2 business days they can go in. So today, and if I gave the paperwork to the compliance office on Saturday, it could still go in either today or tomorrow. But as we sit here, Bison are still looking pretty good on that mark.
Especially school starts today.
Today. today, which is another thing I thought that was working in NDSU's favor about keeping these guys. But the linebacker spot next year, we talked about, it's likely Sibamana and Kopp flanking Nathaniel Staling as the linebackers for next football season. So
Nathaniel, don't call him Nathan Staling.
It is definitely Nathaniel. With Austin Altapeter, probably the more kid in the mix
he'll get reps. Yep. Absolutely, he'll get reps. He can hit. And
I would think Donovan Woolen's going to be there too. That's a guy you cannot keep off. I mean, you look at that frame, Jeff. That's the linebacker of. This might be sacrilege to say. He's got Jabril Cox size. 51 does.
I'm wondering. Okay, what's he weigh now? I'm wondering what he's going to be on August 1st next year.
Let me see quick here. Donovan, you're talking about?
Yeah, because he's a true freshman.
Correct. Woolen was 214, 6'4", 214 this year.
220.
Right.
6'4", 220. I don't think you want him heavier than that.
Probably not. But he can move. That's a guy, again,
got that reach.
How do we get him on the field? How do we play him more? The Bison have already added some secondary help as well with the addition of Jalen Peoples, who's going to be a transfer in from Texas Tech. They got another transfer that they're, I think, pretty high on to go into the defensive backfield. That's the interesting part. Safety brings everybody back. Corner, obviously, Marcus Shepard is moving on, but looks like they're going to try and make some additions in that particular part of the field.
And you figured that. I mean, that was a no-brainer. But it's going to be Jalen City in the defensive background.
Well,
defensive
you've got
backfield.
Jalen Peoples, Jalen Crumby's back, Jalen Duffy's back. Yeah, you've got quite the mix there. But that safety room, and you wrote about this in your season analysis, and you're spot on this. That got better. I mean, we left Boulder thinking,
Ryan Jones.
Right. We left Boulder thinking, holy cow, what is going to happen on the back end of the Bison defense? They got better as the whole year went along.
Yeah, they looked lost against Colorado, didn't they? Just looked lost.
That's coaching, too, by the way. That's a big part of that.
Devin Kleiman, right. But, then they moved Sam Young, switched spots. He was really good till he got hurt. Jones was in and out.
Right, but think about this. The two guys we thought were going to be their guys on the back end was Young and Cole Wisniewski. Wisniewski never played it down. Young only played half the season, and they won the national championship. That's phenomenal to me out of that spot. That's amazing that happened.
It's depth. Yeah,
it is.
It's what it takes.
Considering you mentioned Ryan Jones starts the year, gets benched, then comes back and has an unbelievable game against South Dakota State, and he was really good against Montana State.
And that's how you build a national title team. That's how you build a team that can contend for this is depth. And how many FCS teams have depth?
About three. It's about three. We found the ones who are always in contention. That's going
to be UND's challenge. UND has the facilities. I mean, they're there on that.
Yep.
South Dakota State has. You need the facilities.
Yep.
You need the infrastructure. You need the investment, and all that can contribute to depth.
Yep.
I should write another book on this.
There you go. He's got one in the house here.
No.
Offensive line is one that, after Polisic heard us endlessly talk about it, so I'm not sure if I'm going to hit offensive line hard.
Tackles are going to be the biggest thing.
That's a big story heading into next season, is each of the tackle positions are going to be new.
Bo Johnson, we believe, will be one. Tostad, maybe?
Nate Tostad's in the mix. I think Josh Magan, is former defensive lineman who moved to offensive line, is probably in the mix as well. But you wrote about the Empey was great as a redshirt freshman.
I thought Fraley was
tremendous.
Huge piece.
Again, and people see the flashy portal moves of other schools. Trent Fraley came this time last year, not with a whole lot of fanfare out of Marshall, and he starts all 16 games, was a rock at center.
At a very crucial position, too. I mean, if you're not good at center, good luck on the rest of the offensive line.
Correct. I believe Jack Lewinsky's going to be in the mix as well next season. He already started a couple games this year as a redshirt freshman. He'll be a sophomore. He'll likely be a guard next year next to Fraley and Empey up there.
Yeah, maybe by next year I'll quit calling him Chris.
I'm sure he's heard that a share time or two before. The defensive line, and there's another guy out there that wasn't on the graphic that Polisic tweeted out that I think was targeted, and that's Cody Heisman. I think you talk about what teams need in the portal: offensive line, defensive line, and the way that Heisman played this year. Again, if you're telling me back in August that Bryce Lance, Ryan Jones, Cody Heisman are going to be the key members of this team, I would have lost $1,000 easy on that.
And I think Cody is, what I was told, was more of a product of he's just so invested in this program that he just really didn't care to go anywhere else.
Yep. And I mean, the times we talked to him, that you get that sense about him, but he was a one-man wrecking crew. I mean, he would come through, and the amount of TFLs he had, and especially when Valley Play started, Jeff, he was He was the kind of game breaker that they hadn't had over the last couple of years at that spot.
2 years ago, this happens. How many players did they keep before the collective really got going?
Well, they might have lost all of them. Remember, we got back from Frisco after they lost to the Jacks, and Dom Jones, Courtney Eubanks, Cody Johnson. Cody Johnson, you and I both talked to in Frisco. So I'm back, coming back for I got a 6-year left. I would
Team
imagine,
captain, too.
Right.
Team captain in life.
And I would imagine that you're telling me if they don't have this, I think they may all go. And you wouldn't blame them either.
And I also think maybe if those other players didn't leave, and most didn't get what they wanted.
Yep.
Most did not get what they wanted. So there's a data point where you could, as a Bison football staff, go, okay, we think you're this, but if you want to follow the path of these guys who one guy had to walk on at Colorado State before getting a scholarship, if you want to run that path, guess what? You're not Power 4. You're not.
Let me list. These are the notable portal departures since 2020. You tell me a guy that improved himself going somewhere else. Jabril Cox. I think Jabril still would have been drafted in the fourth round had he stayed at NDSU. Jasir Cox. He was all right in West Virginia.
Decent.
Phoenix Sproles.
No.
Javier Darrett.
No.
Eli Green.
No.
Dom Ganella.
Let's say Eli, not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Eli still got another year to go at Iowa State. Dom Ganella? No.
Nope.
DJ Hart?
Nope.
Siegel did. Marquise Siegel did. He's going to get drafted somewhere day 2
and
pick.
Don't
maybe
forget,
day 3
don't forget
pick.
Josh Hayes in a roundabout way.
I got
too.
Josh Hayes on here, so I'd say Hayes probably.
Yep.
Courtney Eubanks?
Nah.
He was a 2-year starter at Coastal. I mean, could he have done that at NDSU and been a really good player? Yep. Tony Pierce? Probably not. Kobe missed all of the 23 season. Now he just wrapped up his collegiate career. Josh Hayes, and the last one is Wisniewski, which we'll find out next football season.
Not yet, but
so
we'll see.
If you're to take that list and present that, how many guys? I'd say two guys out there that improved themselves after leaving.
And I got to believe that helped.
There's no doubt.
This lot of players to go, maybe you may want to think twice.
Correct.
And I've said this several times on this show, that if my son in college baseball went into the portal, you better make sure you got something on the other side, because daddy doesn't own the form.
That's exactly right. Let's break. We come back, got a few more emails to chat about. Also talk some hoops as well. Big weekend for both Bison basketball teams. We'll do that. More with Jeff Kolpack on the other side of the break on Hot Mic after this. Welcome back, everybody. A few more minutes with Kolpack joining us here. Again, we'll get our full Vikes-Rams preview coming up in our next segment as well. A few more emails coming in, Jeff, off our conversation on Bryce Lance. Dom, I was shocked Bryce Lance stayed. With the question marks at quarterback, there's a very real chance his numbers next year will drop significantly. Potential of that.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yep, there's a risk. Cam's not coming back. True.
I think, are we going to go from 70, what did he have, 75, Kolpack, to 40, maybe. He's still going to get the football.
Yeah.
Does he get 17 touchdowns? Probably not. I don't think we're ever going to see a season like that again, but I think they're going to still find ways to get Bryce Lance the ball.
The jury is out on Cole Payton.
Yep.
Let's just leave it at that, and those 3 words will be etched until the Citadel.
See, and this is a Bison fan response. I would also remind everybody, the staff thought Quincy Patterson could throw well until he proved he could not.
Well, they knew there was some
limitations there.
I think they thought they could fix him.
Yeah, on Patterson you're talking about. I agree, yes. I think they already know on Payton, don't they? I mean, Randy Hedberg certainly knows. He's been here for 4 years. It's not like this guy's Patterson was here for, what did he get in January? He's been there 9 months, and they played in that spring season, so they couldn't even really work with Patterson. I'm not trying to make excuses, just laying out the facts of how that backstory went.
Certainly different timeline
right?
there. Yes.
I mean, Cole Payton's been here 4 years. It's a little different deal. This on basketball. Dom and Jeff, Avery Coonan could be the face of the Bison women. Seemed to take over in the fourth quarter of the Oral Roberts game. Need to comment on the rest of the Bison for keeping the game close while Coonan was on the bench for the third quarter. This is a fun team to watch and should contend in March. It's a nice win that Jory Collins' team got on Saturday.
Yeah, and they should contend until they face South Dakota State.
South Dakota State's a different animal. I mean, the Jacks have won 51 conference games in a row. Regular season games. They've won 51 in a row. They've not lost in 3.5 years.
It's just striking.
Right? It's just
It's not going to happen this year. There's just no
Dakota
way.
State's loaded.
Yep.
But there's no saying the Bison couldn't finish second again. And granted, they don't want to hear that. They want to finally. They haven't beaten SD. It's a decade. They haven't beaten the Jacks in a decade. Now, last time was 2015 that they beat them.
I mean, if L. Evans stayed, there would have been a chance, I think.
Yeah.
And there's always a chance. So it's basketball.
This team
you could shoot rocks.
Honestly, this team is better than I thought. Lenz is good. Frost is really good. The freshman from the Twin Cities, and Coonan is going to be. She's a first-team Summit League player in my mind.
Yeah, she came here as a really good athlete too. Was a long jump, triple jump champ or something?
She was a triple jump state champ out of Montevideo.
At that size, that's an amazing athlete.
Dave's team gets a road sweep, which after they looked not great in Fargo last week, and then they scored 110 against Oral Roberts, and then got a good win at Denver on Saturday.
Well, they needed it.
Yeah,
they needed it. And again, it's. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jackson Money has been great.
Money might have some legit NBA interest around him.
At that size,
at his size and his ability to shoot and get to the basket. There's going to be, if this continues, a serious conversation about the West Fargo.
Well,
kid.
at the least, he's going to make money playing the game. I mean, he's got a good frame for European basketball.
Yep.
So he will make some money,
and he makes those shots. He's consistent on his 3-point shot. The Bison are going to be all right. They got a big one. Kansas City comes here on Thursday night. Kansas City was the preseason pick to win the Summit League. They've righted the ship there. It's going to be a fun game. They only have one game this week because they have the bye on Saturday. So just the one game for NDSU men coming up Thursday night at the Shack with the students back, and they'll be.
I hope it's
fired
rocking.
up. It'll be
fun. It's fun to cover a game when that place is rocking.
It's fun to follow this team. This is such an anti-Dave Richmond team that we were used to over the past 10 seasons, that they shoot the ball, they make them. They made, I think, 15 more threes on Saturday in the win over Denver.
Yes, and thankfully we've hopefully forever in Dave Richmond ball have gotten rid of the weave offense until the shot clock's at 6 seconds, and you go, oh my
just
God.
Throw something up there at the end. Yeah, I agree. We have to have a conversation. I mentioned this off the top about St. Thomas, Jeffrey. They scored 110 Saturday night. They're first in the league after they beat South Dakota. We could be in for an awful pickle when we get to March, and they could win this thing.
So what was the popular theory? We kicked them out of the MIAC. Let's kick them out of the Summit, Dom. Get them to the Big East. Get them the hell out of here.
This is a big week for them because the NCAA is going to rule on their petition to reduce their transition by 1 full year.
I would think that would get approved.
I would think the NCAA is 0 for 156 in lawsuits right now.
Yeah, they're not doing so well.
So if they rule against it, what's to stop St. Thomas and its cacophony of lawyers that they have to say, well, okay, NCAA, we'll sue you and we'll win, that they will be eligible for the tournament this time next. It's not supposed to be to March of 27. Then it would become March of 26.
And they're not even in their new arena.
No, that happens next year. They're good. After watching that game in person, they got another D3 transfer from Whitewater is good. They found another freshman. That's going to be
good coaching.
You know what? Right. Towers knows what he's doing. They're gonna be in the mix regardless of where things are at going forward. That's just the name of the game for them. 2 more emails to get to before we let you go. You guys haven't mentioned special teams. The Bison lose both next season.
Oh, but they got their kicker back.
Ozick is going to be the
their
guy.
backup kicker,
Yes.
but he's their guy.
Eli Ozick will be the guy handling all, and we've already seen the kind of leg he has. Punter is up for debate. Aaron Bickerton is the backup, who is a transfer from Howard that is from England originally. I would imagine he might get first crack at being the punter next season.
Yeah, and Caden had a really good sophomore year, and I felt the last 2 years was okay, is good enough.
Yeah, I think that's probably
he did have the walk-off punt, though.
He did have that to end his career. That's a heck of a way to do it there. Running back is the other one, obviously, and Marty was one that I'm sure they were clearly worried about there, but if Brown and Penu are back, I would imagine they're going to probably try and add another guy. Our guy Peter Haugo, is he in the mix? And Money Mitchell's going to be in the mix too, the true freshman who's here now.
I think Peter's going to get every opportunity. I think he's getting bigger. He gives him a little different look. What is he? 6'2"? Man, he might be 220.
And they saved his year of eligibility. By the way, he played the 4 games So he straddled that. He'll be good for next season.
I know they like him. So that's, they brought him on all the trips.
How goes 213? This was when they weighed him in August.
He's 213,
213. So
220 by next year.
Okay. Another name out there is Owen Johnson, who did not play at all this season after the really, really tough injury he suffered. Heck, that was middle part of the 23 season. I think there's some hope that he can come back. And he is change of pace guy as well.
Boy, it's a long time away, though.
It is. We're now talking
a year and a half.
Yeah, by the time they get back to fall camp in August, that's almost 22 months since playing a football game. That's a long time, is right. But I think, again, we're talking about the portal gone for guys to go in. Let's not discount the fact NDSU is going to add some guys. I think over the next couple weeks, you're going to see some other names added.
I would think there may be a tight end, defensive end.
Tight end, defensive end, corner, safety. Those are the spots that look to me.
You think a running back?
What do you think? Those are 4 guys we just named that are on the in the program now.
Well, I guess you got to if somebody pops up that you really like, maybe you always have to leave room for that.
Running backs are a dime a dozen in the portal.
I think they're curious to see how Money Mitchell. He's coming early.
He's here now.
See how he's looking in workouts in spring football.
I mean that route work with Donovan Woolen worked out all right, and Woolen played 11, 12 games this season. So that road is.
Have we checked on Xander Smith because he's enrolling early from Florida?
Yeah.
Did somebody get him a good coat?
That is right. Yeah. That's another quarterback that will be here,
a good North Face that is good at 30 below,
especially for today. This is unlike if this is his first day at school.
If he's still here by the end of the week, he's in. Then I think we got him.
We got him. That's the deal. Great stuff as always, bud. And
all right, we'll see
a pleasure to work with you all season long.
It was a good time. 11 for 11. 11 for 11 in Frisco.
Stuff.
That was. It's just good to work. Great with you guys. I mean, we just we have a good time doing it.
We killed it, no doubt about it. Awesome stuff there, and look forward to seeing Jeff. We got Bison Media Zone still coming up, all that kind of good stuff. We'll break. We come back. We'll get you ready for the big one tonight. Vikings Rams. Winner gets Philadelphia. You got a prediction tonight?
Yeah, it's going to be a home field advantage.
For the Vikings?
Oh, do you know how many Northerners?
I know there's a lot of snowbirds there, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That was Christmas come late.
So Vikes win is what you got.
They win by 10.
All right. There's our poll question. Back on Hot Mike after this.